heart of the action. Rutherford on Calgary's home to talk. QR 787.
I mean, the issue we're going to talk about is something in and of itself, but how it's reported by the media is another thing altogether. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing that many people in the, I'll keep saying, the Central Canadian media just detest conservatives. Detest them. You know, and it comes through in all their reporting. Anyway, this story is about an ad taken out by the National Citizens Coalition about Bob Rae. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. As soon as you start talking about liberals, they want new laws to shut you up. Oh, yeah, they want to shut you up between elections. They'd even like you to shut up in elections, but they won't actually say that. But between elections, you dare not speak ill of the liberals between elections. And they want a law. They're not going to get one, but they want one. That many people have tried to muzzle you during elections, between elections, before. It's failed every single time. And the National Citizens Coalition has fought every time and won. Peter Coleman, President, CEO of the NCC, with me. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. Listen, tell me about, there's an ad running about Bob Rae, which says, Bob Rae is back. Was that you guys?
Yeah, it was us, actually, you know, and the funny thing you said about the Eastern media, Bob Rae's been a punching bag for us at the NCC for 20 years when he was Premier of Ontario. He was a disaster then.
Yeah.
And the last thing that the federal Liberal Party needs is a drunken sale like Bob Rae spending the way he did when he was Premier of Ontario, and we're being attacked for putting out an ad saying that the Liberal Party should find a leader that can take them forward, and sure isn't Bob Rae.
So you actually spent money from the NCC. People donate to the NCC. You're not a government agency. People donate because they want to, and you use your money, and they know it, to do these kinds of things, to speak out.
Yes, and you know, we've attacked the Conservative Party too, and we have some more ads coming up, Dave, in advance of the budget doing exactly that, asking the federal government to trim their expenditures there. But it's kind of funny that the Liberals are upset about this when their brethren in Ontario, Working Families Coalition, spent $8 million in the provincial election to torpedo Tim Hudak, and that was okay, but this isn't?
You're absolutely right, Peter. Absolutely right. Whenever Liberals are criticized, they demand new laws to stop third-party money from going into speaking about them between elections. They just hate it. But as you said, it's okay for them to do it. And John McCallum runs up and says, "Oh, it was so unfair what you said about Bob Rae." Jim Carriaganis runs up, big supporter of Bob Rae. And this is what I like the best. This is what the media does. The National Citizens Coalition, with past close ties to Stephen Harper. Or Stephen Harper used to be with the National Citizens Coalition, trying to tie in conservative prime minister with everything you do, Peter, because you must be the lapdog of this prime minister, right?
Yeah, we get accused of that by people who used to work for us too, and it's humorous. I mean, we've been critical. We're always critical of governments with big spending. We work on behalf of our members who, by the way, give money voluntarily. It's not a charitable receipt to give money to groups like us. And we raise issues of concerns on behalf of taxpayers and big spending and big waste. And Bob Rae's a poster boy for that, and the fact they don't like it, too darn bad.
It is too darn bad. And then you get this two-sided thing again with Liberals. John McCallum said, "Oh my God, that was so unfair what you said about Bob Rae. Now let me tell you about the Conservatives and how bad they are." You know, it's unbelievable, Peter, but they think they can do it.
But do they forget the Paul Martin days when the attacks on Stephen Harper with troops in the city and guns and everything in Toronto? Their attack ads on Harper. I mean, is their memory that short that they don't do the same thing too? And let's be clear as far as the ad stuff too. In election spending and during campaigns, we think everybody should be able to say what the heck they want. We lost that battle at the Supreme Court of Canada, but we think anybody should be able to say what they want to say during a campaign, before a campaign, after a campaign. The rules should be wide open, but the political parties don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, you can identify who's doing it, of course. National Citizens Coalition paid for this ad, whatever. That's fine. But yes, you should totally be allowed to say whatever you want. And because, as you said, those ads during the Paul Martin campaign were the most reprehensible, Peter, I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
That was the Guns in the Streets ad, the Guns in the Streets thing. And in that one, It was a handgun that swung around and pointed at the screen and fired, Peter. The liberals were shooting at me, and they've got the right to say anything about anybody else? Unbelievable.
They've got a short memory. You'd say they try and attack him, doesn't agree with them, and I don't think they can. They're not choir boys in this process. Never have been, never will be. And I think it's very rich for them to be criticizing us. By the way, it's helpful. We're raising more money every day the more they attack us, Dave, to be honest.
Well, absolutely. I'm glad. Well, you're right. If you spell the name right, that's all you need. Hey, where did you run the ad, though? This was an online ad, wasn't it?
That's all it was. But the beauty of these things, too, now, we used to be very effective with billboards. These, Dave, if you will, become the new version of billboards. Yeah. You can put these things up on YouTube very, very easily, and it's not a huge amount of money. And then what happens is the usual media suspects, as you said in Ottawa, and that pick it up for you. They give you all the free advertising. They'll spend the money to do it.
You know, it's interesting you say that. They're helping. They think they're hurting you by taking shots at you, but in the end, you're right. They're spreading the word themselves. It's interesting. It's ironic.
Oh, for sure. And then they think they're taking a shot at you, and you're the bad guys because. Of course I know Stephen Harper. I was there as treasurer when we hired him as vice president. I mean, that's just the way it is. I consider Harper a friend, not a best friend. I don't talk to Harper all the time, but I work with the guy, so how can they... I mean, of course I know the fellow. I mean, that's just reality.
And, I think the NCC would come at this from a sort of a classic conservative sort of standpoint, smaller government, less spending, more taxpayer rights. That's good. And, Harper believes the same thing. Okay, well, you're in it together. It's a cabal of conservatives. There's something nasty going on, Peter. Must be.
Yeah, and then for people to say that we never criticize the federal government, it's just not true. I mean, we've got some ads coming out next month talking with this as well, because the federal government is too big. We will go after people on behalf of taxpayers, respectfully so. And if people don't like the mirror that's put in front of them, that's too bad. I mean, Bob Ray certainly got thick enough skin, but for anybody to think that he doesn't want the liberal leadership is just dreaming.
Hang on a sec, Peter. My guest, Peter Coleman, President, CEO, National Citizens Coalition. The Libs and the NDP really don't like being talked about. They don't like you to have the power to exercise your rights and spend your money the way you see fit. If you want to help out the NCC, if you want to buy your own billboard and put your own message on there, help yourself. The NDP and the Libs don't like that. They want to control the messaging. They always have, always want to control the messaging. And in this case, it's exactly the same thing. Joe Comartin, the NDP MP Joe Comartin, he's right up there. I'll let you know what he says. We'll talk to Peter Coleman more right after this.
Are you a business owner? Do you own property in the U.S.? Are you retired or close to retiring? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are invited to join McMillan Estate Planning for a complimentary seminar hosted by estate and business planning specialist Sherry McMillan. Preserve your wealth now and in the future. Don't miss it. Wednesday, February 1st, 7 p.m. Call 266-6464 and visit us online at McMillanEstate.com.
If you're only listening to CHQR, you aren't getting all the news. If you want more news and more information about your favorite shows, visit AM770CHQR.com. News stories, blogs, contests, and more. AM770CHQR.com.
The clock is ticking. You need tile fast. Where to go? Northland Construction Supplies. This is Dave Rutherford, and I know that despite your best planning, sometimes you need materials right away. That's where Northland Construction Supplies comes in. What you see on the floor is what they have in stock. Plus, Northland Construction is the supplier, so if you run out halfway through the job, you know they have more in stock. Northland Construction Supplies, Calgary, Red Deer, Edmonton, Fort McMurray, and online at everythingceramic.ca.
Everybody, it's Christopher from the Camera Store, and we're heading into the new year, and it's a time for new possibilities. Maybe photography is something you want to get into. I can't think of a more versatile camera than the Canon EOS Rebel T3i. You know, the Canon EOS Rebel T3i's 18-megapixel sensor means beautiful, huge prints. And if you want to try videography, the Canon EOS Rebel T3i has stunning 1080p high-def video with that rotating screen. And if you're into studio photography, the Canon EOS Rebel T3i can fire flashes wirelessly with its pop-up flash. Check it out today at the Camera Store and thecamerastore.com.
Save up to 30% with Sell-Off Vacations Cruise Extravaganza Sale on sailings through the Mediterranean, Alaska, and the Caribbean on the most popular cruise lines. For a limited time, they have air-inclusive cruise packages, onboard credits, free balcony upgrades, and 50% 50% reduced deposit on select sailings and cruise lines. Book with selloffvacations.com for the lowest price guaranteed. Call 1-877-SELL-OFF or visit a selloffvacations.com shop near you, like South Trail Crossing Mall.
selloffvacations.com. A Sunday driver? And proud of it. Don't miss Driving with Zach Spencer every Sunday starting at 11 a.m. Catch up on the latest from the automotive world. Driving with Zach Spencer on Calgary's News Talk station, QR77.
Buy where the choice is yours. See why Woodridge Ford is Alberta's Ford leader. Get up to $9,500 in manufacturer rebates from December 31st to January 15th, or financing as low as 0% APR from January 16th to 30th. Certain date restrictions apply. Offer not available at the same time. Then take a spin for a chance to win $1 million at Woodridge's FordSpinAndWin.ca. For selection, Woodridge Ford is unbelievable. For deals, they're unbeatable. Woodridge Ford at Deerfoot and Douglasdale or at woodridgeford.com.
Bruce Kenyon here for Birchwood Furniture Galleries. Their floor models need to move out the door. And to help them on the way, Birchwood is holding the floor model sale. Head in today and save up to 50% on their outstanding upholstered pieces that are made right here in Calgary. Between Birchwood's exceptional quality and the floor model sale prices, you won't find better value. It's about you. It's about choice. At Birchwood Furniture Galleries, just south of Trail Appliances, at Heritage and 11th, and birchwoodfurniture.ca.
Look to your right as far as you can, and you'll see Rutherford, where Alberta meets to discuss the issues of the day. Call 974-TALK, 974-8255. Rutherford on QR77.
Hi, with me, Peter Coleman, National Citizens Coalition CEO. Joe Kilmartin, the NDP, the combative NDPer, says, we also should be looking at party advertising in those same periods. It's just so wide open to abuse, as we see with the Conservatives. I think we badly need to do that. It's just such a glaring, gaping hole in our system. We have a right to be reasonably proud of how much better than the U.S. we've done with election financing and financing for political parties generally. If we don't continue to improve it, you backslide. Open to abuse, Peter. What does that mean?
Open to abuse means the NDP can't raise as money as the Conservatives, so they're mad about it.
Is there any history anywhere of an election being bought by anybody?
You know, I mean, we fought that Supreme Court application for the third-party spending to have no limits, Dave, as you well know, and the Charlottetown Accord was a classic example. The amount of money spent on the yes side was like 90 to 10%, and the vote was very close. And there's never been any proof in this country that there's been everybody's able to influence an election campaign with spending money. It's a bunch of BS for politicians to say it happens, because it just does not happen.
It does not happen. And I'm glad you brought up the Charlottetown Accord. That's a very good example. The no's in the Charlottetown Accord gained momentum based on what they knew about the Accord. You know, all the Illuminati in this, the glitterati in this country came out with their big campaign right off the top. And Peter, gradually, the more people heard about it, the more they talked about it, the more they didn't like it. So that wasn't advertising.
No, and it was like, and that's a proof that advertising doesn't work. I mean, if people, as you said, they saw the light of day with the Charlottetown Accord, they didn't like it, they found it wanting, so it didn't go through. But the elites wanted to go through and spend a lot of money, and the people were smarter than that. And
people always are smarter than that. The voter's always right. You've heard that a million times, Peter. And sure, voters, I suppose you could say, make mistakes, but in the end, it's their mistake. So, and the U.S. system is an interesting example. The hundreds of millions and billions spent on presidential campaigns do not always equate to the person spending the most wins.
No, exactly. I mean, I am glad we don't have that kind of system they have in the States. I just think it's insane how much money gets spent during campaigns and around campaigns there. But there's no evidence that stuff works in this country, and I just don't believe it does. But the only time people want spending limits to come up is when somebody on the other side has an ad going on that they just quite frankly don't like.
Yep.
They want the open rules when it favors them, but when something comes up that they don't like, as you so mentioned in the earlier part of this interview, they want stop, but they're okay to have the guns in the streets ad because it suits their purpose. But when somebody's doing an ad that they don't like, they want advertising stop, and that's just wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong. As far as accuracy now, Peter, if you guys make a fundamental mistake, if you libel someone, you're open to normal prosecution, aren't you?
Yeah, no, and we try and be fairly careful, and we try to make these ads sometimes kind of humorous and funny with a serious message. And the same thing with Bob Ray. I mean, his track record is his track record. And in the last federal election, there's no doubt that towards the end of that campaign, the Conservatives got some traction by mentioning Bob Ray and him being a disastrous premier. And it did sway some votes towards the Conservatives. I mean, he can't hide from his record. And the Liberal Party, you know, Bob Ray wants that leadership role. And fair enough, if the Liberal Party wants him to have it, fine. But I'm just saying that won't be good for the country to have a guy like Bob Ray that's left of left run the Liberal Party. They will not gain traction as long as he is their leader.
And Peter, just, you know, talking about politics, I mean, they are already moving left. From that policy convention on the weekend, they are moving left.
Yes.
You know, Bob Ray may not be the official leader quite yet, and I have no doubt he's going to try and go back on his word and run. But they are already moving left, Peter. And as you say, that's fair comment.
It is. I mean, I personally believe, and so do we at the National Citizen Coalition believe, I'd rather have two right-of-center parties fighting it out, and whoever wins, wins. But, I mean, if the Liberals want to be relevant, I shouldn't be telling them what to do. But how many seats they have west of Ontario? 7?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be relevant with a big spending guy like Bob Ray taking over the reins. And that was sort of the message with the ad, and people can spin it how they want to spin it. But it's had its desired effect, and when you get people sort of piling on trying to hit us back, it just does us favors, actually.
You know, and you're right. And talking about your approach, I mean, the National Citizens Coalition has a view of how things should be run in this country, and you do take on Conservatives, and you do take on Harper.
Yes. Well, and people say you don't, but what we also do, we try and disagree without being disagreeable sometimes. We also realize there's situations when a minority government situation where the opposition parties wanted the federal government to spend billions and billions and billions of dollars more. We also understand there's times that there's a bit of balance in the conversation, so we try and be respectful of situations too, but we have no qualms about going after the federal government now because they need to cut back their MP pensions, they're spending too much in Ottawa, and we'll be doing some campaigns on that. But for the Liberals to say we only attack the Liberals and not the Conservatives is just not true.
Well, and you're not going to hold back. What are you? I mean, are there restrictions between elections on any spending?
No, you can pretty much do what you want between elections on spending. It's very careful. I mean, we tend to be over the top careful because Elections Canada is not a fan of us as an organization. They've charged us before and some claims that were just found not to be realistic in court, and they got dropped. But so we're very careful in how we do it because you have to actually go through an audit, Dave, during election campaigns for a third party, disclosing your expenditures. And now some of the media is saying, well, you didn't spend every dollar you raised. And I said, well, we're disclosing all of our revenues because we don't want Elections Canada giving us a hard time. Now some of the media are trying to nitpick at how we run our organization on a day-to-day basis.
Of course.
True story. I mean, I've had some guys from Ottawa saying, well, we don't think this is right. You should have spent all the money and this and that and everything else. It's like I said, you run your organization, we'll run ours. Thank you. We report to our membership and a board of directors, and that's who we report to, not the media, not the Prime Minister, not Bob Ray, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Peter, thanks for that. Thanks for standing up. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks very much, Dave, for having me on.
Peter Coleman, President and CEO, National Citizens Coalition. You should have the ability to say, you spend your money, you can say what you want. Again, within laws of slander, libel, okay, sure, we get that. I'm coming back after this.
You're already busy enough with your job.